Well, hello, and thanks for tuning in today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Jonah Clement, and we are going to just be hopping in today and discussing the concept of fear. And I wanted to start this off by saying this quote that I heard recently from a book: "No fear is justified in any form." So when I read that, I kind of thought about it for a bit and was really trying to dissect it and came to the conclusion that just like everything else in our lives, it's a choice. We were bestowed with the gift of free will, the ability to choose how we think, feel, the actions we take, our direction in life, our paths, and whatnot. We're not forced into anything. We truly have, each of us, an individual choice on how we wish to live our lives. That includes if we wish to feel fear or not feel fear in certain situations. Fear is just another emotion, just like anger, love, sadness, happiness, all of those. It's just another emotion. It is, however, one of those powerful emotions that we can feel as human beings. It is so overwhelming at times for a lot of us. And that's how come sometimes you get that gut-wrenching feeling where it's just like, oh, you're freaking out, and you like feel absolutely terrible. And it's something that our conscious mind formulates when typically there are unknowns within our lives. So when we cannot postulate an answer to certain questions, our minds will create fear around that question because it's completely, it's unknown to us. We don't understand what's going on in our lives or understand certain things. And, we have all these other things like phobias, like fear of snakes, fear of flying, fear of heights, things like that. And a lot of that stems from fear of unknowns. Fear of the unknown of what's going to happen when you're up in a plane, fear of unknown when you're up in a tree, fear of the unknown when you're around a snake. Is it going to bite me? Is it not? Is the plane going to crash? Is it not? And I'm not going to dive into a bunch of that because there are so many phobias. But a lot of that stems from the unknown because fear really stems from unknowns. And I would really say that we could break it down into three major types of fear. And this is something we typically all face in life. And I'm going to actually dissect this in a follow-up video later on. And those three types are fear of failure, fear of death, and fear of the unknown. And they all kind of stem from the fear of the unknown, but we're going to just kind of focus today on fear of the unknown. So, what is fear of the unknown? Well, it's fear of things that we don't have control over in our lives, things that we don't have the answers to, things that are new to us, things that are outside of our comfort zone. Basically, we all live in essence in this bubble, our own individual perceptions and understanding of the world. And anything beyond that is really the unknown. And it's something that, over time, as your knowledge expands, as you grow as a person, as you experience more things, and from that knowledge and experience, you start applying those into practice and into your life. That creates wisdom. Your bubble then starts to expand and can become bigger and bigger and bigger to where that area of the unknown becomes less and less and less. And you actually become, in essence, afraid of less and less things over time. You also have the, again, conscious decision to not choose fear. But that's, in essence, typically how we grow as people. We grow, in essence, our perceptions and our awareness grows over time. And one thing that the unknown actually allows is for infinite possibility. And that's, I think, the one thing that a lot of us don't always look at when we have this fear of the unknown. For example, I got laid off actually back in November. My company was going through a pretty large downsizing, laid off a significant portion of the workforce that they employed. And at that moment in time, it was kind of sucked. It was literally hopped on a Monday morning. And, within like an hour of me hopping on, I find out that, you no longer have a job. And in that moment, I was like, oh crap, this sucks, because I had no concept or no ideas for how to make an income stream. That was my one income stream at the time. I had bills to pay, a mortgage. I have a dog that I have to feed him and take care of him. I need to buy groceries for myself. What if the car breaks down? What if this? What if that? What if I need to repair something in the house? What if I get injured? My medical insurance is going to be gone. I have to pay. I go to the dentist, things like that. So I was like, well, crap. I actually have a life that is relying on some of these things. And now that I don't have that anymore, I'm completely in this area of in essence, darkness, and I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. But I also recognized in that moment of fear and terror, I was like, well, why am I letting this completely overwhelm me? And I was very conscious of the fact that I was feeling scared and not feeling great. And I decided okay, let's take a deep breath, let's calm down and step out of this. And that's what I did. I literally was conscious aware of that emotion. It's like, I'm not going to choose this because it's not being productive. It's not helpful. It's not producing anything. The only thing it was doing was causing stress at that moment in time. And yeah, it did light a little bit of a fire under my butt to kind of figure out what I need to do next, but it wasn't like something to where I could actually go out and solve anything when, I'm freaking out. So I allowed myself to actually feel peace and a little bit of calm within myself to be like, all right, let's formulate some steps and move forward. Like, this is not the end of the world. We have infinite possibilities now that we don't have this job. We can focus on a business. I can focus on my YouTube channel. I can focus on finding something that, I want to actually do and just take the time to do it. And I actually, at that moment, was like, we have a network. Let's reach out to some previous people that we used to work with. And I did. And I ended up landing basically a independent consulting gig with one of my former employers. And I'm still doing that today. And it's nice because that gives me the freedom to, actually work on stuff that I'm good at, but also allows me to work on my business and work on my YouTube channel, which is an aspect of my business. So in that moment, I realized, well, we have the ability to kind of have free way to actually do whatever we want in our life and not have to focus on it being so fearful. Oh, crap, the unknown is like, well, I don't know what to do with it. And it was at that point where in essence, God kind of shoved me out of my comfort zone and was like, here you go, kid. Like, you got what you asked for. You have the ability now to work on what you want to work on. And that's what I kind of viewed it as. Like, I changed that perception into like, okay, we don't need to view this as something negative. Let's view it as something positive. There's no reason to feel scared and fear around this. We got that push out of the nest to get out of our comfort zone and just try things. And I'm, working on this channel. I work on my website. I'm working on scripts for creating new content. I get to learn new things at my contract position and kind of try new things there. And that was kind of the beauty of that. And like I mentioned before, the unknown is infinite potential. It's literally the realm in which miracles and God lies. He lives in the unknown. That is his domain. That's where he resides. That's how he's able to create miracles in people's lives and just create feats that we cannot even imagine. That's where you could find the next opportunity. That's where you could become, the next musician or the next this or next that, or you could pursue your dreams and actually execute on them. That is what the unknown provides. It provides you with 1,000,000 doors, 1,000,000,000 doors, infinite number of doors to pursue whatever you want. It gives you the opportunity to reach outside of that little bubble that I mentioned earlier and try things new, try things that are interesting to you. And yeah, there'll be at first a little bit of fear, but once you start doing that, more and more that fear goes away. Like I said, it's putting that wisdom and it's putting that knowledge and experience into practice so you create wisdom and keep on moving forward, building your awareness. It's amazing. I'm still working through it. I'm not perfect. I still get scared and I'm fearful sometimes. I'm still working specifically on socializing a little bit more. I'm not always the best at this, but I literally do it in baby steps. I try to make small talk at the local coffee shop that I go to and kind of keep up to date on people's lives there that I see every day. At the gym, I say hi to people on a regular basis that I don't necessarily know. I talk with people there, and then out and about, I'll just try my best because that's not always necessarily my strongest suit, but it's something that I'm working to get out of my comfort zone, and it's complete unknown to me. I haven't really had a strong group of friends in probably like 4 or 5 years, and that's okay. But it's just something I'm working at and getting better at, and I'm leaving my comfort zone at a pace that I'm willing to. And sometimes, I go a little bit further than I normally like to, but that's okay. That's part of it, taking that risk. And also to kind of touch back on the concept of miracles and the fact that God resides there, 2 great stories of this is the story of Moses and the story of Joseph. And also the story of Moses. So he actually gets tasked by God to basically lead his people, the Hebrews, out of Egypt at a point in history. And he, does all these all these plagues and whatnot, and all of these kind of things through God that he's basically the vessel for. Eventually, Pharaoh tells him, "Get out of Egypt. We don't want you here anymore," because God killed all the firstborn sons at that point in time of the Egyptians, and he basically told Moses and the Hebrews, "Get out of Egypt." So they end up getting they start leaving Egypt, and they eventually get to the Red Sea, and they're being pursued by Pharaoh's army because he, in essence, was pretty angry. I mean, like, really, really angry with the whole situation. So he wanted to basically slaughter all these people, all the Hebrews at the time. And they get to the Red Sea, and basically Moses has no idea what's going to happen. He has no idea really what he's doing. He even admits, he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just following God's orders. And he's in the complete unknown. They have not left Egypt. They're in the wilderness. They have no idea how to move forward. And then basically God just tells him, you just go through the water and I'll deal with the rest. And that's what he does. And the seas get parted and they walk right through, him and his 600,000 Hebrews at the time. And then the water falls and ends up killing all of Pharaoh's forces except him. And that's where God resides, is in the unknown. It's just putting a little faith in him. And that's it. And God will, in essence, take care of the rest. And there's nothing to fear. It's okay to surrender the outcome sometimes. And I really say surrender the outcome all the time, because you can't control everything. And again, with the story of Joseph, something very similar happens. He ends up getting actually sold into slavery by his own brothers in Egypt. And he goes through a bunch of these events. Eventually he gets accused by he was working for this Egyptian. I believe he was a merchant. I might be wrong on that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But he ends up working for this Egyptian, very well-known Egyptian guy at the time. And his wife is basically coming on to Joseph throughout this entire story. And then Joseph is basically like, nah, I don't want to deal with this. The wife accuses Joseph of basically doing some things to her. Then Joseph gets thrown in prison. And then from that, somehow, because he interprets the dreams of two of the prisoners, I believe one of them was the royal chef, he ends up getting brought to Pharaoh, interprets one of the dreams for Pharaoh, and Pharaoh is so impressed with this man that he actually gives him the governorship of running all of Egypt. He's literally the chief advisor and the governor of Egypt. The only person that is more powerful than him at that point in time in that state is literally Pharaoh himself, which is crazy because that's completely unknown. I mean, he had no idea any of that was going to happen. He just put complete faith in the unknown and was like, you know what? There are infinite possibilities and we're just going to see where it leads. And it ended up leading to him actually leading a pretty awesome life. I mean, he had a lot of different experiences. He went through a lot of hardship, but it ended up to where he became one of the most, if not the most powerful person in Egypt at the time, other than literally Pharaoh, who was obviously the most powerful person. And those are just two biblical stories. And throughout history, you see all different sorts of people going into the unknown. If we didn't have these explorers actually map the world and willing to risk and go out into the physical unknown at the time, we wouldn't know about, there wouldn't be Western civilization today as we know it. Same thing with, we wouldn't know about space if we didn't have astronauts going to the moon and people going out into the unknown. Same thing with the ocean. If we didn't have people diving down to the ocean and mapping it, we would have complete unknown of a lot of the physical world around us. And it just takes a little bit of courage to actually do that, and a risk and a leap of faith. And I know a lot of people are afraid of doing that because, we like to stay in our little bubble. That's how we are conditioned. We don't really like change. Even though humans are fantastic at adapting, a lot of us don't like change. We like to stay in our little comfort zone because it's comfortable. So I would say never live in fear. I think it's a terrible mindset. It's a terrible emotion to live in. It's when you permeate that energy out, that fear, you're going to see the world as fearful, and that fear is going to be returned back to you by the world. Like I mentioned in almost every video, perception is reality. So if you're afraid of everything, that's what you're going to see. Even though that's not necessarily what's going on, if you're literally living in a mindset of fear, the world's going to seem scary to you. You're going to close yourself off. You're not going to be trustworthy of people. You're not going to be trustworthy of yourself. And most of all, you're probably not going to be trustworthy of God. And just the unknown. And I know the unknown can be scary. It's just like we were taught as kids to be, the dark is scary, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, the dark is not scary. It just is. It's just part of it. There's no reason to fear the dark. I mean, you can bring a flashlight. You can bring a light. You'll figure it out. There's no reason to be afraid of things you can't comprehend and understand. And that little ticking voice in your head, or that little thing that's like, trying to provide answers to this unknown, or creating what if this, what if that happens? What if I get rejected? What if I don't get the job? What if this business is not successful? What if I botched my interview? What if I, screw up at work? What if I tick off what if I tick off my kid? What if I tick off my girlfriend? What if I tick off my boyfriend? Whatever. There's no reason to fear things that you don't understand. Just because you can't understand something doesn't mean you need to be afraid of it. It's okay to not understand everything. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to understand everything, and that's fine. There's beauty in not knowing things because that creates, again, like I said, infinite realities, infinite doors for you to open. And with that, I would say just choose courage. Choose to rise above it, because when you get that little bit of courage within yourself, within your heart, and then hone it with your mind, you can move mountains. You can literally accomplish anything. You have the ability to rise out of that fear and choose what you want to do with your life. So don't live your mind, don't live your life in fear. And I'll again state that no fear is justified in any form. It's your choice. If you want to choose to live in fear, go ahead. Go right ahead. If that's your prerogative, do it. I'm not gonna question it. I don't encourage it, but if that's how you want to live your life, go ahead. That's your right. But I don't agree with it. I think that you can challenge yourself to rise out of it. I've been there. I decided to rise out of it because I don't want to live there anymore. It sucked. It didn't feel good to be afraid of everything. It didn't feel good to not trust people. It didn't feel good not to trust myself. So I'm gonna leave it there. If you like the video, you can hit that like button. It really does help this channel grow. I like getting this message out to as many people as possible. If you also have currently not subscribed to the channel, I would really, really appreciate you subscribing. It again helps the algorithm, helps our channel grow. I'm just trying to get my viewer base a little bit more, or not viewer base, viewership up a little bit more to more people. And I really appreciate all the people that have already subscribed to the channel. You're awesome. Really, really do appreciate that. And I also really, really appreciate and am extremely grateful for everybody that comes and views these videos. It really does mean a lot. I'm just trying to help as many people as possible, even if this just gets seen by one person or if it gets seen by 1,000 people. I'm good with either. So with that, if you are looking forward to any future content, hit that notification bell. I try to post a few times a week. It sometimes changes my posting schedule, but typically it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and God bless.